Hello, good morning. Interesting for me how this message has changed. When I started doing this many moons ago, I was, really talking about addiction and talking about awakening, talking about, meditation. And it's really shifted. I've kind of surrendered this last while to, you know, what was I going to do on this platform? It's grown and um, most of my life, my adult life, I've been focused on my own recovery from addiction and helping others in their recovery from addiction. And I have to say that I haven't spent a whole lot of time over the years on helping families. And as as the message came clear to me, it felt like an inspired message that families were really in a way where the solution is, but where the bulk of the pain is. For every addict or alcoholic, there's kids, there's wives, there's mothers, there's fathers, there's you know brothers and sisters that are at home, um, or living in fear of where that they're going to get that phone call, that their son or their daughter has overdosed and died, or they're going to get that phone call that they're in jail, or they're going to get that phone call that they're getting out of jail. you know, so the whole thing that happens in families of addicts and alcoholics is often fear based, and what I'm seeing, is that there's just so much shame around the disease. The alcoholic and the addict, of course, feels shame, and you know, we have I am statements. I am a loser. I am a thief. I am a, you know, I am not very smart. I am, even I am an alcoholic. Sometimes has um, shame around it, and but through exposure, through talking about it, through shining light on this, I think that we can help bring people out of the shame, and I think it's happening. I'm not just like some revolutionary guy. This is happening, I think, all over, but for the message to reach deep into to families, and the families that are affected just in the last little while. I've been working with alcoholics where the family has had to take up the slack. So much so where father-in-laws and grandfathers, start to look after the family that gets left behind because the addict just can't. Hi, honey, I'm talking about us. Um, so, and it was actually um, a couple of weeks ago when I was with a good friend, and she was talking about that she was going to Alanon. And I knew she was in recovery, and I was like, okay. I mean, I went to Alanon. I went to Alanon actually because of my family is there's lots of alcoholics in my family, and I grew up, or I didn't grow up, but in my younger years as a parent, I had kids that I would lay awake and wonder, are they going to get home? Are they going to be safe? Are they, where are they? Where are they? So I suffered, in a way, the disease that comes to the family. I was, and I also suffered the shame around it. Family is like, well, what did I do wrong? How did I screw this up? And because one of our kids is an addict or an alcoholic, so it was out of that conversation that it really came clear that there's so many people, even in the addiction world, in recovery, who are dealing with a mom who is quietly drinking, and there's shame around it, and there's in the shame there's a silence. I mean, I grew up in an alcoholic family, and that was the rule. What goes on in this house is never spoken about outside. That was the rule. We were brought up with that, and so that cone of silence keeps us in forever sick. and because we don't talk about it, I think everybody should start a Facebook page, put the picture of your addict on it, and talk about them. And just talk about them, because we don't. The addict says, "Don't talk about me," and we obey. you know, Ignore the problem, pretend it doesn't exist, and we obey. And then in that pretending it doesn't exist, they can go on in their quiet misery, and we, as the families, can do the same. So, that seems quite, maybe quite real, but it is quite real. It's like, holy shit. So this is my message going forward, is really in that vein, totally in that vein. Let's talk about recovery for the family, and how addiction faces the family, and the shame. I've seen it with addiction, where the addict has died from an overdose, and it's we don't there's so much anger and so much shame and so much guilt. We often don't have a funeral, or we don't have any memorial. We don't have anything, because you know uh, there's just all this misinformation about the disease. So I don't know if that helps, but we're going to start talking about it. I see that, the more I move in this direction, the more information becomes available. And I'd love to interview you, to talk about openly about the addicts and the alcoholics in your family and in your life, and the effects that you feel have happened, there. And I think that the more we shine the light on it, the more we talk about it, the more we expose it, you know, there's, I think there's people sitting in kitchens all over the world, wondering, what do I do with my brother? What do I do with my sister, who's an addict, who we can't have in the house, who we can't invite to family functions? It gets that way. So we have to hide the keys. We have to hide our money, because they'll come and break in, you know, that's often where it gets to. And so how do we deal with that? Or the dad who's drinking in the basement every night, and the fear, what do we do with him? So I'd like to expose this more and more. So I think that as we help to expose and shine the light and bring love into this subject, it heals everybody. It heals everybody. It's like, the disease thrives in the dark. It does. It grows in the dark. It grows in the silence. You know, um, I have a I know this lady, I'm not going to say who it is, but and sometimes we're talking on the phone and you can hear the ice cubes clinking, you know, and it's, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and she's in her 60s, and she's having a drink, and that's how, she copes. And that's maybe never going to change. I know that with my own father, my dad was an alcoholic, and when I first sobered up, I was like, so, uh, I was gonna fix him. I was gonna fix him, and I did go to Alanon. I went, and I learned that I didn't cause it. I can't cure it. It's um, I think there's a third thing in that. I didn't cause it. I can't cure it. And there's a third thing. You guys can remind me. And so with my dad, though, I was so bent on changing him that I was missing my opportunity to spend time with him. You know, and so I stopped that. I just realized that, okay, this is my dad. I'm gonna love him just the way he is, as I can, and you know, and I did, and we had some good years together before he passed, and so I accepted, who he was in his addiction, and I think that it goes a long way to building a relationship, and lifting the shame from the whole thing, because most of us in families want our addict or alcoholic to change. So I think if we just can love them the way they are in the moment, it doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that we can accept unacceptable behavior. but we just recognize that we do love them the way they are. And it's an amazing thing that can, bringing that love into to there. And I think the other thing, I know this is quite personal, but um, in my family with 5 kids, and all of us have had sobriety at different times, and some of us have been sober for years and years and years. And we were, it's we were not picked as young fellas to be the ones that were going to get sober and stay sober. I can tell you that. And we had the house in the neighborhood where the kids didn't walk through our yard, because we were a tough little bunch, and but here we are sober and in service, and I believe, and we all believe, that my mother's prayers, my in I would say the last 20 years of my mom's life, she was deep. She was a real praying person. Now, I don't know much about that. I just know that prayer works. So my mom, I don't think, prayed for us to change. I think my mom prayed for us to come to know a higher power in our lives, come to know God in our lives, come to know peace in our lives. And so, not prayers for change, I mean, are good, but, just if you're praying for an addict or an alcoholic, pray that they come to know peace. And what could be better? And that, or they come to know God's will in their life. So, uh, sometimes if you're family of an alcoholic or an addict, you know that there aren't any other tools. That shining the light, bringing love, God into the moment is the tool. And so um, that's the deal. Okay, you guys. So this, I'm still reading my 24-hour day book here, and but the chats have changed. I've just gone from, we're going to focus on family. So if you have, I want to do more interviews. I want to interview people who, have a story as a family of an addict or an alcoholic, and or have some solutions that are working for them, for the family to find peace. And I mean, that's what we want, isn't it? Peace, baby. We want peace, for everyone. And okay, so we're the 25th of February. This is an old book that was written for the 12-step program. I mean, it's amazing for me that I've moved from to this. I think that for every addict or alcoholic, there's a dozen family members, you know, that are affected. I'm just making that figure up, but I'll bet there's a dozen family members that are affected. And if there's an epidemic, it's in this area. And it's not just with the opiate crisis. I mean, it's inconvenient for us all that it's so obvious, because control it. Okay, we can't control it. Thank you, honey. So didn't cause it, can't control it, can't cure it. The 3 C's. Yes. Um, and you know who I'm talking about. So, what was I saying? So, yeah, if there's an epidemic, I believe that it's in this area. It really is. It's not just about the opiate crisis and that people are dropping dead on our streets, or that seemingly innocent people are dying like I mean, really innocent people are dying. Like last week in Drumheller, 3 people, just regular folks, people that were, what I would call casual, from what I understand, um, you know, um, drug users, recreational, we call them recreational. I was never recreational. I I didn't know how to do recreational. I was always full on. There was, I didn't use for the experience of, I used to get out of it. And that was what's different about me and the recreational user. But recreational users are dying, so that's shining the light on the problem even more, because we're not talking about some guy or gal with a long history of drug abuse. We're talking about kids, that are really, um, unfortunately getting caught in this thing. So exposure is the deal, period. I really do. I believe it 100%. Even though many of the programs that I'm familiar with are like they're anonymous. It says anonymous. There was a huge stigma at the time, around the disease, and people were afraid to be seen as addicts or alcoholics, but I think we have to change that. I really do. I think that it has to come out of the closet, because keeping it anonymous, really brings the shame, and it just puts this whole blanket over the whole thing, saying, well, we can't talk about that, you know, and well, we can talk about our own recovery, and we can talk about our families. I believe we can shine the light. So um, I, I could run on about this. It's really kind of got me. So here we are, the 25th of February. My little book, the 24-hour day book, was written in 1954 for the 12-step program at the time. Some people find it hard to believe in the power greater than themselves. Yeah, it can be a block, but not to believe in such a power forces us to atheism. I have never met really any atheists. It's been said that atheism is blind faith in the strange proposition that this universe originated in a cipher and aimlessly rushes nowhere. That's practically impossible, I believe. I think we can all agree that alcohol is a power greater than ourselves. Yes, it was. I certainly was in my case. I was helpless before the power of alcohol. And do I remember the things that happened to me because of the power of alcohol? Yes. You know, I deal with this power greater than myself thing when I'm talking to newcomers really, really easy. It's just so easy. Let's let go of our Sunday school idea about God and ask one question. Do you believe in love? And if you can say, yes, I believe in love, I have another question. Do you think that love is a power greater than you? And nobody says no. Everybody says, well, yeah, of course, love is a power greater than me. It doesn't matter how downtrodden they are. Rough, tough guys right out of jail. Sure, I believe in love. And yes, love is a power greater than me. Great. Let's start there. That's our higher power. Call it what you want. But I call it love. And love heals. Love really fixes everything. What would love do? So let's go there with the higher power question. So it deals with it. We don't have to, dwell on whether we believe in God or not, or whether we have, whether religion has worked or not, or all of that stuff. It's all just irrelevant. Meditation for the day. The spiritual and moral will eventually overcome the material and immoral, unmoral. That is the purpose and destiny of the human race. Gradually, the spiritual is overcoming the material in men's minds. Gradually, the moral is overcoming the unmoral. Faith, fellowship, and service are cures for most of the ills of the world. Yes, faith, fellowship, and service. I call that love, right? For most of the ills of the world. There is nothing in the field of personal relationship that they cannot do. Bidding, bidding. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may do my share to make a better world. I pray that I may be part of the cure of the ills of the world. Yes, yes. I mean, service and giving this back is the key. It's absolutely the key. All right. So, love you guys. That's my deal. And unashamedly, but sometimes, I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? But that's the thing. Let's go down this road together. Let's expose the disease of addiction. Let's not debate about whether it's a disease or not. Let's recognize that millions are dying, and millions are sitting at home in fear. Will he come home? If he comes home, is he going to be drunk and angry? All the fears that we have about living with an addict. Where is she? And whether we're thinking about a wife or a daughter or mother, where is he? And where is she? And all the fears that come in with the family. And it's all out of, ignorance in a way. We don't understand the disease and we're afraid to talk about it. So let's talk about it. If you have anybody that I could interview, and I'd love it if you go to the YouTube page and subscribe there. We're kind of building this on YouTube, and I'm on a mission. Let's put the word out in this area around family and the disease. Okay, so what I've been doing this last while, and I think this is part of any recovery process, okay? And that's to sit quietly. Some call it meditation. I hesitate to call it meditation because I'm not, an official meditation teacher. I mean, I've taken years of off and on training around meditation, and I had a big question when I came into to recovery. What the hell is meditation? I can't do that. My mind's too busy. I can't sit still. And I remember I married this lady once. I love her. By the way, alcoholics and addicts are not great in relationship, because we have trouble being honest. Um, anyway, um, this beautiful lady taught me to meditate, and she said, "Why don't you start at 3 minutes? Can you sit for 3 minutes?" And I was like, "Well, yes, I can sit for 3 minutes." And so I did. I began to sit with a little timer. It was before cell phones. Now we all have timers on our cell phones, but I would sit with a little with a little timer, a little alarm clock, and the clock made it so I didn't have to worry about how long I'd been there. I could just drop in and let go. And so I think that part of any recovery, and that's recovery for the family as well, is to learn to sit in stillness, to discover, um, you know, our thoughts in a way, and that we're not our thoughts. To sit in stillness. So we're going to do that together for like 3 or 4 minutes right now, and if you'd like to join me, that'd be beautiful. So just close your eyes. And I find if you use the breath to come into the moment. The breath is always now, isn't it? So we bring our consciousness, our awareness, our focus onto our breath. And when we're focused there, or aware there, nothing else is happening. We're just in the breath. The beautiful thing about the breath is it doesn't need our focus to keep going, so we can just let go of it. Maybe for a minute, focus on our body. Just become conscious of your feet and your knees, your hips, your torso, your belly, and your back, your shoulders, arms, elbows, wrists, hands. Just to focus in, come into this body, into this moment, into this breath. Your neck, your jaw, just let it go. Your eyes and your nose, bring your focus inside of your head, to your temples, that spot right between your eyebrows. Now, if thought comes up, just let it go. Patiently, gently, just let it go. For just a minute, there can be nothing happening. No future, no past. Nothing missing, nothing needed, nothing next. Okay, just come back when you're ready. This practice of going inside. Recognize that all the struggle is inside, not outside. And once we practice going inside in a calm way, it begins to shift. Become aware. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for joining me this morning. Beautiful. Family healing. Imagine. Who'd have thought? Love you, love you, love you.